What's good, YouTube? This video is going to be about messaging mistakes that women make when talking to guys online or texting. Oh, and yes, you're listening to my voice. I have allergies. I have a lot of shit going on inside of my face right now. So I'm doing a video anyway, but yes, I'm not feeling well. Recently, one of my subscribers sent me a message thread of her approaching a guy in his inbox. And while I like the effort, sometimes you have to be extra tactful and mindful about what messages you're sending to a guy subconsciously. It's not just about what you say, it's about what they think you're saying. And she's not the only one. I get these inbox threads all the time where maybe what she said or how she approached isn't the subject of her question, but it definitely needs to be addressed. Oftentimes, women try to rely on cute or funny or these other energies outside of what they're hoping for and what they're trying to seek from a man when they're approaching him or when they're texting him first. But it's important to start out how you want to finish. Set the tone for a proper conversation, and then if it becomes something more flirty, then that was on him. Anyway, I'm not gonna waste your time here. I got shit to do as well. One of the first and biggest mistakes I see women make when they're messaging guys first or they're DMing guys is sending too many LOLs. Every other thing is an emoji with a laughy face or an LOL with a laughy face. I understand why you're doing it. You're insecure about the response that you're going to get from what you're saying. But he also sees that as insecurity. So it's bad messaging. Too many LOLs and too many laughy face emojis send the message that you're not sure of what you're saying, or you're not sure of yourself, or you're not sure of how it's going to be perceived, and you're hoping that he doesn't take it the wrong way. It sends the message that you're more worried about his response to you than what he has to offer you. Now, of course, there are instances where an LOL here or there are appropriate. Maybe you've actually told a real joke, or maybe he's told a joke and you're responding with an LOL to acknowledge his attempt. But to start and end every sentence with LOL or some kind of laughy face emoji when shit really isn't even that funny, if you wouldn't laugh at it in real life, think twice about it if you're doing that to your own statement. You can give him a mercy LOL if he says something that he's trying to be funny. I get that. But if you're talking about you and you're the one speaking, laughing at your own jokes is almost never really the answer to a bad joke. So dropping a bunch of LOLs on your own comments doesn't necessarily make the point that you're being funny as much as you're trying to be funny. So maybe things are more funny to you because you're uncomfortable. But shit isn't funny to the receiver, who's pretty calm generally when they're reading your messages, right? So the LOL shit makes it look like you're very unsure of yourself and you're hoping that he doesn't take you the wrong way and that you're coming to him in fear and trembling. Too many of those LOLs teach a man that he has the leverage from the very beginning because you're coming to him as a court gesture, not as an intellect. When you approach a man or you text a man first, or you're messaging a man first online in text messages if you haven't heard from him, or if you're trying to start something up, come to him as an intellect. Come to him as a spirit. Come to him as a thinker. Come to him with curiosity, but do not come to him as a court gesture, laughing your way into a conversation. The only time you can do that, the only time you should do that, is if you're making a joke in context to something he's said or done or posted. But if you're starting with LOLs that have no reference to anything that you've already gotten from him, any ideas or any efforts he's made, then it can seem like you're there to entertain him. Or that you're overeager to talk and you're just trying to do anything to extend the conversation. So again, leave the funny stuff to the guy, or say something funny in response to what he's already presented as a thought or a post or something he's already passionate about. That way, at least he understands where the joke or where the nervousness or the anxiety is coming from. But if he has no reference to it, he can only assume it comes because you're too eager to talk to him. Moving on. The second mistake I see women make when they're texting guys or they're messaging guys, especially around the first couple of times, is self-deprecating. All of us do this at some point in our lives, and we have to catch ourselves. It becomes a learned behavior and a learned coping mechanism for being anxious around new people we want to impress, right? Women often do this because they're fishing for compliments. They're trying to give a guy an opportunity to show her how much he likes her, or if he likes her, or if he's noticed her in this way. So women usually do this to break the ice and to fish a compliment from a man. But the problem is this: if you successfully fish a compliment from a man through self-deprecation, or through talking about yourself or saying something not nice about yourself, When he responds with that compliment, you're never really sure about the compliment. I don't know how many hundreds of conversations I've had with different women who said, well, yeah, he gave me this compliment once, but was it because I just said this about myself? Was it because he was just being nice? Was he just trying to make me feel better? So the only thing that self-deprecation did was fish you a compliment that you won't accept because you don't know the source of the compliment. You don't know where it came or what the motive and intention was behind the compliment. So not only have you telegraphed an insecurity to be used for later by a narcissist if you've happened to got one, or an abusive personality, or someone who would take advantage of you, but you've also made him feel as though he may have too big a part in your self-esteem. Oftentimes, instantaneously, women reject the compliment they get after self-deprecating, which doesn't help their cause. Again, if you get a compliment like that from a guy, you don't know whether he's being nice or if he's just noticed it. A compliment is only really acceptable when you know that you didn't fish for it, right? When you didn't set a trap for the compliment. When you know that a guy just noticed you and wanted you to know that he's noticed you. That's the only time a compliment really ever counts to people subconsciously and consciously. So let a guy tell you and show you and express to you what he's discovered about you, and those are real compliments. But the ones that you have to fish for and pull from a guy don't really mean shit anyway to you, so why fish for them? And why telegraph your insecurities and your anxieties about this thing or that thing when it's unnecessary and it only serves to lower you in his eyes and vibrationally? If a man sees something nice on a woman and she doesn't appear to notice it, but he wants her to know that he notices it, he's making an attempt to telegraph his interest to her, so that compliment means something. He's giving up his position of interest, of intrigue, of observation of her, which is another reason why you don't want to do that. It looks like you're fishing for validation, and a guy should never have the power to validate or invalidate you when he barely knows you. It telegraphs low self-esteem to fish for compliments. Never do this. Moving on. The third mistake that I see women make a lot of times when they're texting guys or they messaging guys on dating apps is they flirt first. Again, you can text a guy intellectually without flirting first, without all the LOLs and the cutesy stuff, and get further in the conversation, than if you started trying to be cute or trying to be flirtatious. Flirty conversations are often very shallow and they lead to shit like, what you doing? What you doing? What you doing? What you doing? WYD, WYD. Like they get dry quick. So you don't want to start a conversation from a flirty place because it telegraphs your interest, but it also leads to the cheapest conversation that you can possibly have. So drop all the LOLs, drop all the flirting. Do not do that first. Do not engage in those activities first in the conversation. Because then if a guy flirts back, did he flirt back again? Because he liked you? Because he noticed you? Because he observed you and wanted to get close to you? Or did he flirt back because that's where you took the conversation and he might think an easy piece of ass is coming? Or this girl is really anxious to talk to me, therefore I have the power to validate or invalidate, or that I have the leverage in this conversation, right? I'm energetically superior in this exchange. So again, if you start flirting, not only does it telegraph potential anxiety, but it leads him away from the type of conversation that you're trying to have if you're actually interested in exchanging with him. If you actually like him and you actually want something from him outside of sexual attention, flirting first leads you far away from that. If you're trying to go right, that's a left turn immediately. You're trying to have a conversation that gets you more familiar with him. You're trying to have a conversation that maybe opens him up, that puts you in a position where you can talk about the things you're passionate about together, that makes you feel like a friend, that builds a real rapport with him, that makes him say, hey, I really like talking to this girl. Maybe we should go out. It makes him want to get your number. But all you're doing, if you're starting to flirt from the very beginning, is telegraphing your attraction, which again, may build sexual tension, but it's not going to build interest, not a genuine interest. And even if a guy has the propensity to grow into a place of being interested in you, you're not going to put him in that place intellectually. You're not going to put him in that place consciously or mentally or psychologically by being flirty. You're going to do that by triggering his interest mentally. You're going to do that by stimulating his mind, not dropping a bunch of jokes and LOLs. Again, respond with jokes, respond with LOLs, but when you lead with them, you make yourself look more like a court gesture than a real prospect. And the court gestures may wait for the king or queen to laugh, but they're not respected members of the court. So think about the end result you're wanting. Think about the type of relationship you're wanting, the type of conversation you're hoping to have. If you're trying to have a conversation with substance, then start with substance. It's easier to respond to a post with substance that a guy has written, or something with substance that a guy has said, some depth of thought that a guy has expressed in his page or with you previously, something mentally or intellectually that he's offered you. Respond to one of those things. Respond to that type of energy. Start the conversation there. If it gets to flirting, it's because he brought that flirting into it. So you know that that attraction is his. If compliments come from this, then that's because he brought those compliments to you, so you know that those compliments come from him. He's noticed those, he's observed those, he's putting himself out. Moving on. The fourth mistake I see women make when they're texting a guy or when they're messaging a guy a lot of times is over-responding. This is so annoying sometimes. Too often I see a woman say, "Hey, how are you?" The guy will be like, "Chilling, what up?" Or, "What you doing? WYD." And then she'll drop a page or 2 or 3 paragraphs, and he'll be like, "Oh, for real?" And then she'll drop another paragraph. He'll be like, "That's what's up." Or something else cheap, right? Something else that doesn't even require a whole sentence. Guys aren't even giving women whole sentences, and she's written an essay. When you're over responding, it's a clear exchange of energy, and it's a lopsided exchange of energy. So thinking about a conversation like an exchange of energy, you should be able to look at that conversation and see an equal and fair exchange, okay? At least a 60-40. Of course, someone might be more verbose or use more words than another person to describe themselves. Somebody might be a better writer and more descriptive, but there should be equal and opposite effort on both sides. If you're furthering the conversation and every time you pass him a conversational piece, it stops with him and you have to come up with something else to extend the conversation, he's not there to discover you, and he's not there to give you anything back. A conversation thread should look like a couple of sentences, a couple of sentences, a couple of paragraphs, a couple of paragraphs. But never let a guy give you 3 acronyms and then you write a paragraph. 3 acronyms, you write a sentence. 1 word, you write a paragraph. That's not an equal and fair exchange of energy. And if a guy's not giving you that, he'll never meet you in the middle. He's already telling you, "I'm not going to call you all the time. I'm not going to text you back on time. I'm not going to show up for dates. I'm not going to plan dates. I can't even have a conversation." A lot of these guys tell women now, "Well, I'm not really a phone guy." Okay, solid. So you must be a great writer. Well, no, I'm not really a writer either. I just put acronyms. Okay, so you must want to go out on dates and make plans a lot. Well, I don't really make plans. I kind of suck at that. So what the fuck are you going to do with a woman? What are you going to do? Like, how are you going to get to know this guy if he already told you he's not a phone person and he's showed you that he's not a text person because he always just gives you acronyms and cheap texts? How is he going to connect to you? Start requiring more from a man intellectually. Stop over-responding to those cheap, effortless texts and messages that guys send you, especially without that LOL crap and that flirting. You're not doing yourself any favors. If a guy isn't equipped to have a proper conversation with you, especially through text message, when he has all the time in the world to think of something to say, and he's not equipped to have phone conversations because he has social anxiety or he's just not a phone person and he's not making plans and he doesn't have any follow through. What are you doing with this guy? Like, why are you even here? Don't continue messaging a man who's giving you a half-ass or no-ass effort. Move on. These are the 4 mistakes that waste the most women's time that I know. Trying to entertain a guy who's not even trying to entertain them. Giving energy to those who suck energy but never give any back. When a guy's not responsive and when a guy's not thorough in his responses, he's an opportunist or he's just waiting for an opportunity. And you're presenting one, so he's not even a bad guy for doing it. But don't be that opportunity. Make sure a guy has to give you something intellectually, mentally, energetically that validates the conversation, that pours into the conversation instead of just waiting for an opportunity to say, "Okay, give me a number. Okay, let's go out. Okay, you want to have some sex? Or, okay, here's a D pic." Too often women are settling for those cheap, ridiculous, flat conversations until they get a D pic. And then they're disgusted because no real connection has been built. But at least it looks like interest, so maybe he likes me. No, he doesn't. Anyway, that's all I got for now. Please go check out my new t-shirt store at the link below, Quirks and Quotes. Follow me at KidVic24 on Instagram. I'll get with y'all later.